Hi testing folks, welcome to Conformiq. Conformiq has come up with this new version release Creator 4.6.1. In this new version release, you can find new enhancements around the creator modeling and integrations. So let us go one by one across each of these enhancements. So starting with the creator modeling enhancements, we can see now three enhancements has been provided across the business activity nodes, narrative actions and decision node. Within the business activity nodes, now you have the provision of weaving the business actions within the business activity nodes. That is the business activity, the model flow which is created in the canvas in each of these business activity nodes, you can directly view the business actions provided within the properties section. And the second thing in the same category is that if a new business action is considered, then by default you no longer see the AND action. Now coming to the narrative actions, now the narrative action supports both input as well as the output business parameters defined in that business activity. So this helps to have more control on how you want to create your test description. And the enhancements from the decision node is that the bases defined in the decision node's properties can be hidden and display only the decision node name within the business activity model flow in the canvas, which helps you have more control to see what is important to you. And coming to the now integration enhancements, we can see like the enhancements has been provided across the Jira integration, the BPM integrations, Jira Zephyr as well as the Qtest. So within the Jira requirement provider, you get to see two new options, the Jira query field and as well as the group issues checkbox. And also the other enhancements within the same category is that users can now connect to the Jira server with only the API token. Coming to the BPM import enhancements, now the new BPM importer has provided with new UI enhancements such that with the checkboxes provided, it helps you customize the business actions in the business activity node. Also, it supports the ARD files as an import to convert into creator AD flows. Coming to Jira Zephyr scripter enhancements, the enhancements made here is that you can export the test to Jira server with Jira Zephyr scripter using only the API token. Coming to the Qtest integration, so the enhancements made here is that now as soon as you export the test cases, you see that within the Qtest, DC folder is created within which you will be having the current test folder as well as the obsolete folder. So this helps you to maintain the test cases which have been obsolete, which have been modified, and as well as the new test cases as well. And it can be done automatically. Coming to the other enhancements within the Qtest is that the description field is now updated with the test description generated by the creator to the use of narrative action. And finally, the traceability matrix is established for the test cases against the Jira issues in the Qtest. That is, the issues listed out in the Jira project which is connected to the Qtest can be imported into the creator model as requirements and then can be exported back to the Qtest platform. Now let's see within the creator how each of these enhancements have been implemented. So to begin with the creator modeling enhancements, let me start with the first one around the business activity nodes. So as you can see, I have considered here a car booking a business requirement model, which is an example model flow having the business activity nodes. So within this, now if as you can see within these properties, I have here the when and then actions. So now if I want this to be displayed within this business activity node in this canvas, for which I need to go to the Windows, Preferences, then you get to see this Preferences window, where within the Conformiq UI tab, you will see this show business actions Conformiq modeling on business activity node, an option by default mentioned as no. If you click on yes, say apply, click on OK, and then you need to close the project so as to uh, get the impact of the selection of that option and try to open the project once again. So once you open the project now, so let me rearrange this for the better view. As you can see now, for all the activity nodes in this model flow, the business activity nodes contains the business actions provided within its properties. Now say like I customize this and I try to provide given action. As you can see, the given action is populated. Followed by if I go ahead with providing the AND action, even the AND action is also populated within this business activity node. So all the business actions can be considered weaving on this business activity nodes with this new enhancement. Coming to the other enhancements across this business activity node is the no longer existence of and business section. So as discussed earlier, so let me create a new business activity node, and as you can see here, by default you do not see the and actions. So and action has been removed and you can see only the when and then actions. Now coming to the other enhancements across the creator modeling is with respect to the narrative actions. So I'm considering the very first business activity node here, register request, and adding a narrative action. So when you double click on this narrative action, you can see the two sections, and within this section of available parameters, now you can have both input business parameters as well as the output business parameters. So let me show you quickly. I am adding the parameter constraints, both input and output, with the parameter value set. So let me consider this as a test1 for the input parameters and for the output parameters as test2. So when you double click on narrative actions, as mentioned earlier, now within this available parameter section, you can see both input and output business parameters. Some of the scenarios across this the enhancement is that not only for the new narrative actions and for the new parameters which has been considered, even if there are existing parameters and you go on add the narrative action, and if you double click on this, you can see the existing parameters, irrespective of whether they are input business parameter or output business parameter, they are getting populated in this available parameter section. So these parameters, they are specific to this particular business activity node. That is, for each of the business activity node, the parameters defined, only those both input and output parameters will be made available in this section of the narrative action. So these are the enhancements which are provided across the narrative action within the creator modeling enhancements. Now let us see the enhancements made across the decision nodes. As you can see now, for the decision nodes, the default display is that for this decision node, you can see both the name of the decision node provided, that is approve the loan, as well as the basis, in this case the external circumstance. So other decision node within this model flow, where the name of the decision node is provided as allocated and the basis as outcome parameter. So now if there is a requirement where the only the name of the decision node to be displayed, so in that case the enhancement is provided such that in order to implement it, you need to go to the Windows preferences, select the Conformiq and the UI tab. So within this, you have this option called as hide Conformiq modeling decision node basis. By default it is considered as no, but when you click on yes and say click on OK, which is save and close, in order to have that impact of that option selection, you need to close this project and restart it. So now once you restart the project, so and you can see that the enhancements has been implemented, where you can see only the name of the decision node which is provided. So here in this case, the approve the loan, and this one-time selection of the option is applied across the entire model wherever the decision node has been provided, as well as across the other projects as well, but within this same workspace. So this is the enhancement which is provided across the decision node. Coming to the integration enhancements, to import the issues of a Jira project has requirements in the creator model. Double click on it to view this properties window, where you can configure the credentials. On successful sign in, you will get to see the list of projects. So I am considering a sample project here. So once you click on sample project, you get to see the two new options, which is the enhancements across this Jira requirement provider. This Jira query is used to filter out the issues within the selected project. So within this sample test project, if there are n number of issues being listed out of different issue types, say such as bugs, user stories, tasks, epics, then I want to have a particular set of issues only to be considered as requirements. Then in order to filter that out, you need to use the Jira query. So you can find this Jira query within the Jira project. So let me show you quickly. As you can see now, I have considered the same project which is being selected sample test, and as you can see, there are like n number of issues here, and I want to select only certain issues to be considered as requirements. So basically you need to mention the JQL query. So you have this JQL option here, where if you maintain the query here, so the same query need to be mentioned within this the Jira query field as well. So once it has been done, you can go ahead and check this checkbox where you can group the issues as per the parent issue within the Jira project, or if you want to group the issues as per the epics, which encloses the task, the user stories. So if you want to have that hierarchy, you can check this checkbox, or else in a non-linear manner, in a non-hierarchical way, if you want to fetch the requirements or the issues, you can uncheck this checkbox and click on OK. The query has been written which says to fetch the requirements that has only the epic and story within this sample test project, and I want to group the issues, and I want to get the issues in a hierarchical way. So I have checked this checkbox group issues. Now click on OK. So once you click on OK, so this is a requirement tab which you can see within the creator. So you need to click on this button called as update requirements or fetch the requirements. So once you click on this, you can see the bottom right which says the fetch requirements. So once the fetch requirements have been fetched, you can see the list of requirements within this requirement tab. Requirements have been fetched, click on this acknowledge option. So once it has been acknowledged, as you can see now, we have this story which is a part and associated of this epic. So this is how the group issues checkbox helps in getting the hierarchy. Now one of the key point to be noted here is that only the last member within this hierarchy, so in this case the story epic one, or in the epic file it is the story one, only the last member, the leaf node of this hierarchy can be considered as a requirement within this can be considered in the model flow. So if you try to drag the epic file, so that is not possible, so that is not allowed by the creator tool. Now coming to BPM importer, the enhancements made across this BPM importer are that you will get to see has discussed the two new checkboxes for the BRM modeling. So for which, in order to demonstrate, I'll create a new project quickly. So I go to the file new, select the Conformiq Creator project, say this has demo, then provide the option, select the option of create empty project. So once this has been done, we have this model folder created automatically. Right click on it, then say import. So choose the Conformiq within which you find the BPM and flow option here, import BPM and flows, BPM and 2.2, click on it, say next, and once you come to this particular window, you get to see the field where you can browse the BPM and files that supports the BPM and 2.0 standards, and you get to see the existing two options, the GUI and BRM. But once you select the BRM option, now you get to see two new options, the basically the two check boxes now, such that the first checkbox, if you check, it will make sure that in the entire model flow, that is the BPM and converted creator AD flows, so all the business activity nodes will be having only the when action, so the then action will be eliminated. It depends on the requirement where we need to have only the when action in the entire model flow. So as such conditions, we can go ahead with using this checkbox, and if we go ahead with the second checkbox, it makes sure that whatever the business actions statements are, that entire that name is equivalent to the name of the business activity, so let us see both of this how it actually works. So for which initially I need to browse the file. So I am choosing a sample demo BPM and file. Once it has been done, so let me proceed with only one checkbox, that is the first checkbox of create only when action BRM. So once it has been selected, as you can see, I have selected the BRM option. Click on finish. So we see that the import is successful. So on expanding the model folder, you can see here two edits have been created. As you can see now, we have only the when action being populated here, and the then action has been removed, and the same is being displayed here as well in the canvas on each of these business activity nodes. So all the business activity nodes have only the when action. Even if you go to the sub AD, so even in sub AD you can see only the when action. But if you uncheck the checkbox, then by default you'll be able to see both when and then action. So let me show you quickly, for which I need to close both of these AD files, and also delete the existing files here in the model flow. Let me select the same file for the better interpretation. So I click on browse, choose the same demo file, select the BRM option, but now I'm not selecting any of this checkbox. So on clicking on finish, we have successfully imported. So now the team ID, as you can see, by default both when and then actions are populated. So in all of the business activity nodes in this flow, including the sub area as well, both when and then actions are populated. So this is the default settings. If you observe closely, within this default settings, we have this atomic option. So in order to customize, you need to right click here and then go ahead adding for the other action, say like given or when, or the other another then, or even the and action. And also by default the sentences will be mentioned as the name will be used like whatever the business activity node name has been populated here, in this case open application, followed by suffix is performed in case of when, and in case of then completes. So if we do not want these default statements, then you can go ahead choosing the second checkbox. So once you have selected the second checkbox, you'll no longer see these default statements, as well as not even this step of right click and customize. You can directly go ahead and add the other business section. So let's see it now. I am doing the same process again, deleting this existing one for this demonstration purpose. Okay, now here you have to choose the same file again, so BRM option. And now if I select the generate activity name as a business action and click on finish, as you can see now the uh, flow import is successful. And if you click on now team ID, both when and then are appearing because we have not checked the first checkbox. But as you can see, the default statements has been trimmed, is performed, as well as completes, and you no more see that automatic, and you can directly go ahead and add any of these actions. So the two steps has been reduced, making the things faster for the users. So and even for the sub id as well, you can see the same things, both when and then statements, but with no the default statement. Now let us see the enhancements around the Qt scripter as well. So for which the important and mandatory thing is that we need to select one of the areas. So once it has been done, then we need to add within this DC the Qt scripter been added. Once you expand the DC, you can see the Qt scripter here. I can always select this scripter from the scripting back in the list of scripters given. So once it has been provided, then go to Conformiq test design and initially go ahead with generating the test cases, for which the step one is loading the model, then generating the test cases. So once the test cases have been generated, we can see that 100% coverage is also attained. We have here two test cases. Now we can go ahead with and try exporting it. Now we have to configure the option. We need to provide the required credentials, that is the URL. So right URL has to be provided, then right period token has to be provided. We have to mention the project ID as well, followed by and either select go with existing module if we have, or create a new module, or even like we can export the test cases within the one of the folder as well, for which we need to provide that particular module folder ID. So we are also having the provisions here to approve the test cases by checking this checkbox, and also to link the requirements. So once all the credentials, the entire scripted properties of the Qtest is configured, click on OK and go ahead with exporting the test cases. So once the test training is successful, and which is possible if all the field value provided are matches the correct with the allowed values, so then we can review it within the Qtest platform. So if you expand now this particular folder, you see the DC folder. So whatever the DC name is provided in this project demo, so with the same folder, with the same name, the DC folder is created. And if you expand this DC folder, these are the new enhancements which you can see, where the two new folders has been created. One is the current test Conformiq, and the other is absolute test Conformiq. The current test Conformiq folder, it includes only the active test cases, such as the new test cases which have been exported, as well as those test cases which includes modified test steps or test description. Coming to the absolute folder, so it includes only the absolute tests which are not in the current scope of testing. If I click on this, you'll not see any of the test cases. Since all the test cases now exported are active, and if you click on this one of the test case, you can see all the test steps provided, as well as within the test case properties, the all the fields for which the values were provided within the qtest field mapping file. So this is one of the enhancements which is provided regarding the current test and absolute folder within the qtest. Coming around the other enhancements within the qtest is regarding the test description. So for which let me come back to the Conformiq modeling here. So regarding the test description, the enhancement is that if you want to provide the test description to be populated from the creator modeling perspective, then you need to make sure that you add a narrative action either in the GUI model flow or in the BRM model flow. I have added here within this business activity node a narrative action called as hello world. Now once you add it, you need to delete the existing test cases and then generate once again and then try to export. So once you export, right, so if you come back to the qtest here, so within the current test folder now, so here as you can see in the description field, the hello world has been populated. So this is enhancements which you can do. So now you need not come here to the qtest and then mention the test description. You can directly mention to the narrative action. So the Conformiq is supporting to add this test description with the use of the narrative actions. Now let us see the final enhancement, which is regarding the testability matrix of the requirements. That is basically if the requirements, that is the uh, issues of the Jira project, if they are linked with the Q test, then we can consider them into our uh, creator modeling with the use of the requirement provided by the creator tool. Once it has been imported, then you can export back again to the according to the respective test cases. So now within the model, I'm considering the GUI model flow here. So in this GUI model flow, so once the requirement has been added here, we need to go to the requirements tab and click on this fetch or update the requirements. Once the requirements have been updated, we can see that the list of requirements here. So in this case, I have considered the project demonstration project, which is a Jira requirement now. So as you can see, all the issues within that project has been populated here. I am considering this demo 32 subtask 11, which is a subtask. So if I place say in open new account node, then I'll save this. So for which I need to generate the test cases again. So once the test cases have been generated, so we need to add the qt scripter here again in order to export. Once the qt scripter has been added, we need to configure all the required properties across all the different tabs provided here. So once it has been done, we need to click on OK. So if all the proper credentials has been provided in all of these tabs, then we need to click on OK and then go ahead with the export of test case. As you can see now, the requirements has been considered. So we have this traceability which is being covered, the Jira requirement which is being covered in the test case 5. So as you can see, when the test case 5 has been named as demo 32, so which is basically the Jira issue being considered. Let's go to the qtest platform, and as you can see now, I had modified the name. I had provided a new name called as demo 4.6.1 requirement. So now within this model folder, we have the DC3, whatever the name provided. And as you can see, I have here two test folder, current test and absolute test. So since all the tests are active, we have all the tests in current test folder. Now coming to the particular this scope on the requirements, as you can see now, within the creator here, so the Jira requirement which is being linked to the qtest as well and being imported in the model flow is being covered in the test case file, right? So now let's go to the qtest platform back, and if we double click on this, we get to see the list of properties, and as you can see now, we get to see this message that the requirements have been linked. And if you see this requirement tab here, you can see the requirement has been linked. Now if you click on this id iq42, so you'll be directed to this requirements tab here, the main tab within the qtest, and you have this id called as demo 32, and if you click on this, you will be directed towards the Jira project itself. So within that particular Jira project, from the issue which is being linked, So there you're getting directed. As you can see, the subtask 1 was being added, and that is where the qtest is directing the control. So we need to go to the creator here. As you can see now, I have created a new bug. Place this demo bug within this open new account, save this flow, and then come back to the test generation, generate the test cases once again, so that that particular demo bug is being covered. As you can see now, we get to see the coverage being successful, which is being covered in the test case file. Now if I proceed with the exporting of test cases with this Jira requirement, so we can see that if it is not being covered, the creator tool issues the a warning message to the user. As you can see now, the exporting process has been begun, which clearly states that there were no issues being found, and all the field values provided within this qtest field mapping file are correct. Now once the test ending is successful, as you can see now, the warning messages has been issued to the user stating that those the requirements which is being inserted into the model flow is not found. So it writes enhancement is made within the qtest script is such that the tool tries to see if the requirement which is being considered in the model flow has actually been uh, connected with the qtest. If it is not connected, then we get to see this error message. So these are the new enhancements, in addition to which there are certain fixes have also been made across the qtest scripter. Therefore, you can have the hands-on experience with this latest version of Conformiq Creator 4.6.1 by downloading it from Conformiq external portal. Thank you.